Folks, I'm back. Another light skin and dark skin video. Let's hear the people out, I guess. If you're new, please don't forget to subscribe. It's your boy Little Benji. It's Little Benji on social media platforms, particularly Instagram. But you can follow me, Benji Man, 4A's, on Twitter. I like to have some discourse with some folks. Twitter's a place to be. And if you care about sports and hoops HQ is where you can follow me for other stuff.
Well, I don't want to be a light-skinned black woman. I am black. I am Sabrina. I'm a black woman, and I'm my own woman, and I don't associate with the stereotypical light-skinned woman and what they do and what they portray. Right. So I'd rather just be considered a black woman, just like a darker-skinned black woman as well.
Do you think, in a sense like that, people can maybe think that you're saying, well, I don't see color?
So that is kind of my opinion, and it is kind of like what white people say when they don't want to be racist, I don't see color. And my own family primarily are all dark-skinned. Right. So growing up, I didn't. I saw beautiful people. I saw my family. I saw my dark siblings, and that's just what...
Please don't tell me we started on this conversation with her trying to say that she's light-skinned. Light her skin, but come on now.
What it was.
Gotcha.
Until recently, the conversation has really come up to the point where I'm starting to ask them, like, what was your experience? And they, too, say that they didn't have a negative experience for real. I literally see black people, I see white people, I see Mexican people, and that's what it is for me.
Sorry, I might have to go full screen on this because I'm starting to get a little bit confused. Starting off this video, shout out to Jubilee. You just sat there and said you don't see color, but then you started to describe the different ethnicities, or I guess ways you can categorize people into race because of their color.
Can we have the disagreeer step forward?
I'm nervous.
I don't feel comfortable in being labeled.
Can I just say one thing too first off? I've dated a couple light-skinned girls. Ain't nobody said they were submissive, first off. The reason why I didn't step forward is because dark skin, like everybody's starting to find out the science is starting to agree. Dark skin is where it started, baby. And the reason why I think that I'm okay with being called dark skin and why I love the fact that there are light skin is because we have to realize that all of these people came from this prototype. Like I look at these beautiful dark-skinned people over here, and I always love the darkest people because they have no pimples, no nothing. It's just pure perfection.
Beautiful skin.
And excuse me, you know, this is not an extremist view, but we all know that dark is dominant and light is recessive. And I don't think that it's a negative thing to be called dark. I think the media wants us to think that, but I don't think it's a negative thing to be called dark. We're the originals, so that's great.
I acknowledge that.
Come on now. Hey, like I understand that like a lot of people will affirm that life started somewhere in northern Africa, but are we going to argue that the people that in northern Africa were dark skinned? I mean, I would assume they're a little fairer, but sure, darker skinned than most, but I concur.
That we should not have to have these divisions and these terms. One term that illustrates that to me is brown skin. You know, the black people who are kind of in the middle. How ridiculous does that sound when we're all variations of brown? You understand?
Right.
However, I didn't step forward because I'm not offended by being called dark skin. I will say there's a dehumanization that does occur with this labeling, like for instance, on social media. A light skin, a dark skin, that drives me insane. Now, I just wanted to address just a couple things you said. First, I want to say I'm very glad that your family members have not felt the impact of colorism. I'm so happy to hear that. I wish that was the dominant reality for dark-skinned girls. Unfortunately, it is not. We have to remember colorism is not just social, it's systemic as well. Even if they haven't necessarily felt the way that dark skin is perceived in society, that doesn't mean that they may not one day feel that. I hope
completely
not.
Understand.
Yeah.
And that one thing I think that adds to it, though.
What? Shit.
Is how you were raised. My dark-skinned siblings are my step-siblings. So my mother is light-skinned. My mother never mentioned our color. You know what I mean? Whereas like some parents will like prep you for the conversation. It was just never a conversation.
Yeah. We all got prepped. Did you guys all get prepped?
Yep. And so that's what I'm saying. Even when I plan on having kids, I date a dark-skinned man.
Yeah.
Potentially I can have a dark-skinned child.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go around just prepping them for the worst. I want them to just know that they're black and they're beautiful, whatever tone they come out.
I have to say, honestly, we're all black and all lives matter are the same to me. In the sense that both statements are true, but neither do anything to address the issue at hand, so they're meaningless. Yes, we're all black. However, some black people are further marginalized because they are dark-skinned. And I understand what you're saying about not wanting to beat your children down with the idea of oppression, but not talking about it is not going to make it go away. My mother was extremely affirming to me as a dark-skinned little girl because she understood that if she didn't do it at home, when I get out into the world, you know, we ain't in Kansas no more.
Completely understand. But it's also when I say we're all.
Shorty is not. She's gonna keep interjecting what she believes the life should be like for somebody who is not. like the people on the right are talking about the life that comes with living as a darker skinned person. you being a lighter skinned person are experiencing things differently than somebody who is darker skinned. So it's very easy for you to sit there and say, I don't understand that there's a labeling behind being darker skinned. I don't understand. Why can't we just all be the same? Like Shorty said, it's the same thing as if you were a white person talking about some all lives matter and I don't see color. Nobody would agree with the message coming from you as a messenger, because you haven't even had certain experiences that would even make sense in that regard.
Black is like, if we were to get pulled over tomorrow, I'm black to a white man, to a white cop. What my point is more so is that we are dividing ourselves with this conversation as well. And I don't want that for us. I want us to just be on the same page, because that way we can move forward in life.
But you all are
My
not
immediate
from the
reaction is
same.
no, solely because like I am a light skinned person, you know what I'm saying? But then you
Like, you're not going to argue that his background is the same as the person next to him. And his background is not the same as people on the right. Yes, at the end of the day, you look at somebody, you're probably all going to be deemed as people of color. But you all have different experiences in regards to the shade of skin and ethnic background that you have.
you kind of brought up how like what's tied to it are the stereotypes that come with being a
Right.
light skinned person or a dark skinned person.
Right.
And those can be detrimental
Yeah.
to a light skinned person or a dark skinned person.
Yeah, right.
Do you believe that those stereotypes are majority true, though?
Whether they're true or not is kind of irrelevant. The fact that they're detrimental to people, I think that's the problem itself.
So
What
when I
de- what
first
detrimental-
heard the prompt, I think when I
What detrimental light skin things are there?
was younger and I was growing up, like being dark skinned was something I would like try to run away from because of the negativity surrounding that term. But like as I grow up now and I'm like living in a time where I see like models like Anuk Yai and like all these people looking up
And
to
you
them.
flawless, girl. Don't talk about that. Look at your skin, girl. What light coming from?
And like being more confident in myself, I'm like, yeah, I'm dark skinned, what about it? I also like it because I think when it comes to the Black community, we're not a monolith, so I think it is good to like display that we are a diverse group,
Yeah.
even though we are
But
pretty
everybody
large.
is.
On the other side, I do see how people
nations
nitpick
are-
a bit too much and pay like way too much attention to the details. So sometimes I'm like, no, I'm just Black.
I'm really interested in this conversation, but for me, my perspective is totally different. I was born in Africa, Ghana. And so the west part, many of us are dark. Then you get to the north, they're light. You get to the east and west, many shades. I never knew there was a such thing as colorism until I came to the United States. It's just like you said, you're gonna be Black at the end. It does not matter when it goes down.
Especially in this country.
Exactly.
Right.
It doesn't. You could be the lightest one sitting out of here, but you're Black when it comes down to it. That's it.
I have experienced colorism from within the community.
There's kind of like this opinion that light-skinned people can't experience colorism. Dating my current boyfriend, this is a dark-skinned family. I was whitewashed immediately. I was bougie immediately. I was uppity immediately. And this was before getting to know me.
I think it was second grade. I vividly remember I was on the playground and this guy had told me like your skin is blacker than dog shit. And that was the first like time.
So this is what I'm talking about. These are two separate experiences that are on one end of the spectrum and the other. They called you a lighter skinned woman. They called you bougie. They attributed you to at least a position of excellence. Because typically when you're talking about somebody being bougie, they're up here, right? You're better than us, or you think you're better than us. Versus her literally being compared to dogs' feces. Two different experiences.
Like I had been like, oh, so I am different from everyone. Most of the comments like I got about my color were almost always people within the Black community, but then on top of that, it was always boys. Sure, some girls maybe from time to time, but it was usually always like Black guys, and that always confused me because I'm like, you probably have like a mom or sister who looks like me. Like, how could you say that?
Yeah. I relate to your story so much. Both my biological mom, dad are Ghanaian, so that's where I get my very darkness from. But my two brothers and sister are light because their mom is from Kenya. Their whole life was so different than mine, and I noticed in America, when we came, everyone was befriending my brother. But when, we'd have to be in circles and they'd have to hold our hands in second grade, all the kids would like hold me like this with their finger and then wipe themselves off.
Right.
All those names, they would come in and just, say the worst things to me. And I'm in second grade wondering, like, what's going on? Why doesn't my brother get any of this? I was just so confused because, like you said, my whole head is, I'm thinking, wow, all of you guys, if you go back to our continent, you really look like us. What is this? I was extremely confused in the Black population. And, I had to say for years, I really disliked African Americans. Not my cup of tea. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah. I think
We hate ourselves.
I think already being like African, there's already kind of like divide between Africans and African Americans, but then with most of the bullying that I went through being perpetrated by African Americans, I just like really started to dislike them, and I was like, I don't want to be in their spaces. I don't care to.
And this is a side note. This is why I'm here, because you guys are educating me. I didn't know that it was African Americans that was talking shit.
This is what I'm talking about. First of all, this woman already is placing herself in the category of light skin. Sure, she's lighter skin than these people in particular. But woman, if you walk out to the world and there is a white woman, they not looking at you, no light skin woman. There's this black woman right here. So just like they said, you don't really qualify. And like, for example, that gentleman that was on the very end on the left and that other woman that was sitting next to her, they can easily be identified as light-skinned people. And even white people will sit there and call them light-skinned. They will not call that woman light-skinned. And you have not an experience that I think is necessarily the same that these people will experience. Don't think that matters too much, because I hate to try to draw a divide between every little shade of color, because I'm only doing what we're asking us not to perpetuate. But it's difficult for me to understand that this woman, and I'm speaking about, this woman can sit there and argue against things that are happening towards people that are darker skinned when you have not experienced or even have knowledge of experiences that are occurring for people that are darker skinned. Crazy work.
Care to.
And this is a side note. This is why I'm here, because you guys are educating me. I didn't know that it was African Americans that was talking shit. So it's like,
well, that's not necessarily all.
But that's
Not all the
conversation.
time. Also, some parents are like.
And that's what I was gonna say too, because you guys are mentioning you guys are in second grade and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like, even my niece already is like, I want straight hair, and it's like, where are you getting this from? Like,
But she's
already.
looking at you though. I was gonna say that about the
No, well, I mean,
Yeah.
Good girl.
gone.
I became aware of
She might want straight hair because she see what you wearing on your head.
colorism during childhood, early childhood.
Right.
At that, y'all, they was in what, second grade, running around the playground. They had a chant: if you're black, stay back.
That's-
If you're brown, stay
Stick
around.
around.
If you're light, you're just right. I remember hearing
That's
that song
crazy.
on the playground
Now that's
from me
crazy.
being 6, 7 years old. I knew, okay, I don't have a problem with my skin tone, but society does.
and that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
where do they even get that from? Like the parents?
Come on, Sean. What are you talking about right now?
It's like, where are
Yes,
they
of course.
getting this from?
That's why. Yes, of
Duh.
course. So I have a sister, and she's your guys' beautiful complexion. And I remember when we were younger, we would put our arms together, and I go, haha, I'm gonna make it. And this one I was a lot lighter too.
Facts. That's actually crazy that black people are their own, because, bro, there's actually conversation that black people have on whether or not they'd be able to make it inside the house.
We don't problem too. No, I'm just kidding.
was. But I'm gonna fast forward again. I'm out in Europe doing my thing, music or whatever, and I go to my sister and I'm like, Z, I'm sorry. I don't know, it just came out. I was like, Z, I'm always sorry that I did this, and I'm sorry that I never told you you were beautiful. I'm your brother. I need you here. Don't leave me. I'm going crazy. And at that moment, I realized I'm free from this colorism thing.
The interesting thing about it is that in my own family, there are varying shades. I notice how sometimes that my brother, who is a little bit darker, would get treated versus how I might get treated. But then I also sometimes notice how my younger brother, who is a little bit more lighter skinned, would get treated compared to me or my older sister or whatever. There were girls that I liked, beautiful black girls growing up that I liked, that were like, oh, well, you know, you're not maybe like as dark, you're not like that dude. Or people would look at you and be like, oh, you got all this education, yeah, you're just a white kid. You don't talk like a black kid. I'm like, what does that even mean?
I don't think that's indicative of your skin color. I think that's more just indicative of you being a person of color, and them attributing deep-rooted racism to you shouldn't be educated. And the stereotype of the people that use slang are typically people that are of color. So I think that's more what it's attributed to, not necessarily your color. But
right? Because all of us are wanting to get opportunities to be more educated so we can do bigger things in the world. We should be aiming for that. So when I would get made fun of sometimes, some of the black girls I'd be trying to talk to, those experiences were even kind of turning me against my own people. You know what I mean? And so being light-skinned in that sense, sometimes you feel like you don't necessarily have a home, because you're like, okay, I'm not trying to be white, but I got white people kind of like relating to me and give me a little pat on the back.
So are you light-skinned black, or are we talking about mixed race people?
But then I'm trying to be with my people, but then it's like, oh, well, you're not really black enough.
All right, can we have the disagree step forward?
We are stressing that lady out.
Of course, it'd be these two people.
Put us out of here. Keep all of us out of here.
I don't feel like light-skinned people experience colorism. However, I do feel like their experiences that light-skinned people can have that are negative. Because I've had people tell me, oh, you know, you're not black, you damn near white. It bothers me, but that's all. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's it. I'm not gonna say y'all are being colorist toward me because y'all are talking about my skin. It is annoying, but it's like, I feel like that's insulting for me to say, well, this is reverse colorism. Because none of anything that I will ever go through will ever touch what I know y'all have gone through. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Can I just cut in really quick?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say it's like offensive. It's just a bit reductive. You
Right.
understand? Y'all gonna make me be the insufferable woke.
No,
woman
say
all
what you
the
gotta
time.
say. Say what you gotta say.
I know we talked about earlier the opinion that light-skinned people don't experience colorism. For me, that's not an opinion.
Right.
And I don't want it to be where light-skinned people can never share their experiences, especially when it comes to the invalidation of blackness. You understand? I claim y'all. Y'all are just as black as I am. So you should have the space to discuss these experiences, especially if they traumatized you. I just want to say your experience doesn't have to be colorism to be valid.
I'm probably just gonna pair it off of you two because I agree with you wholeheartedly, but I view isms the same. Like just how there is no reverse racism, there is no reverse colorism. Like we don't experience colorism. We experience prejudice based off of our skin color, but it's not the same thing.
Or resentment relating to color.
Yeah.
I think
I agree with that. That's my experience, because that's why I was saying earlier that I know that colorism can't necessarily be placed on us, but there's the word. Like I said,
just to clarify, and I understand where you're coming from. For me, I'm not talking about it in the sense of I'm going to experience the same level of disadvantage.
Fair.
I think a lot of light-skinned people, our experiences are more internal. It has to do with identity. It has to do with feeling like we.
Is that identity the same thing as someone who's mixed race? This is why I'm being a little bit confused. If you came from two black parents, just because you're a lighter skin, sure you might feel as if the world has allowed you some type of advantage. But then, like I said, the lighter the skin gets, I mean, there's different experiences to be allocated to these people, period. So these people that are mixed race, I feel like they would have more of an identity crisis because they are coming from different backgrounds.
We have a space within the community when it comes to these issues, because I do feel like we're locked in when it comes to stuff where we're going that way.
Yeah.
Right? But then sometimes as we start stepping back a little bit closer to home,
You ain't never lied.
we begin to be like, oh, wait a minute, are you really one of us? Are you really with? And then it becomes negative. So that can impact how we stand together as a unified front. That's kind of more my point.
And I honor that.
Hey, before we continue the discussion, when you caught all shark, subscribe living your up your trap, Mr. Shark, from
The way I've benefited from it has not been by much, but has been an extravagant in way. Number one, I've been to places that you would consider the hood, and nobody ever messes with me. And I've come to find out that it's like, even in Mexican neighborhoods, black neighborhoods, everything, it's more of an interest. Like, you're not from around here. And I'll make my accent even a little thicker. The second part of the benefiting from it is I look very, very, very different. And coming into California, I was at a bookstore, and I was casted by a producer to be in national commercials and TV just because I was very dark. They approached me and they said, wow, where are you from? You have a very unique look. You know, I feel like the benefit for me is that there's more of a harder shell. You don't really know what to think when you see a person as dark as me. You know, is he wild, is he crazy, or is he just chill?
Right.
It almost feels like sometimes the benefits of it don't really feel like benefits in a sense, because they come almost with their own kind of tiered disadvantages, right? So if, you know, at being a light-skinned man, right? My mom is Caribbean. My mom's from the Bahamas, and my dad is Creole from New Orleans. My dad is like really light-skinned, and my mom is like more dark, kind of somewhere in the middle. Being a Caribbean American, it's kind of weird in the sense because you have people looking at you being like, oh, okay, like you look a little bit different. You got more of an exotic look, as some people might say. In that benefit, that doesn't really feel like a benefit to me, because I see how my other brothers and sisters are being treated that are dark skinned or might be a little darker than me. So I don't really see that as an advantage.
Do you believe colorism affects us more within our community or with the outside of our community?
To be quite honest with you, I think in some ways it does affect us a little bit more inside of the community.
Inside of our community, you think so?
I can say not in terms of economics, not in terms of opportunity per se. I think that's more outside. I'm just talking about the way we see each other.
The way we
treat each other.
That's crazy.
The
I've
way
been
we
to black
converse
communities,
with each
and
other.
I don't see the whole, it might be a passing joke every now and again, like, oh, bro, your shoes are whack, you know, oh, you're light skinned, but it's not like a thing where it's oppressing us.
There's a lot of, especially in the conversations, for example, light skin. There's an aspect of our masculinity that gets questioned when it comes to whether it's being tough, being more emotional. Like, society and culture shows black men to be, you gotta be tough, you gotta be strong. That's what you're seeing in music videos.
Dark-skinned black men.
Right,
normally.
exactly. That's what you're seeing more in culture being presented to you. This is like what blackness looks like, right? For the most part. So then now, people be pulling your card all the time, trying to see if you're really about it. They be trying to see, oh, you're gonna be soft. And that happens inside of our community.
I agree with that.
I would say I benefited because my previous job to what I'm working now, we had a darker skinned woman and myself, and the darker skinned woman quit. And then I was literally late to work about 2 hours for about 2 years, and I never got fired. And I know it's because the one black person quit, the other one is still here. We can't just fire our last black person.
Wow.
So I know I benefited from that, just being black, because I was
Colorism, though?
once again a diversity number, and it's going to look bad on the company if you fire your last black person.
That's true.
I remember I was in 6th grade, and there was one of the black kids.
Why were you 2 hours late?
I grew up in Arcadia, California. It's predominantly Asian and white. For some reason, I'm not gonna tell the teacher's name because she's probably dead by now. And I don't want to.
That's crazy.
She like just constantly picked on him, like constantly, just going out of her way to pick on him. And she didn't pick on me the way she picked on him. Even as young as 6th grade, I realized like there's a difference in how you're treated based on your skin color.
When I was younger, I didn't realize that the privilege was there because the conversation of colorism never happened in my home. There was okay, well, I don't know it exists. I don't experience it. Ain't nobody talking about it. And so I didn't know.
Right.
And so it's like, as I became more socially aware and I actually seen what the reality of it is, it's like, it's not just mean and nasty remarks. Within the system, it is
being
life
nice,
or death.
your teacher being nice to you.
Yeah, it can literally go from somebody just saying something nasty, something colorist, to treating a lighter skinned person better, to a darker skinned person dying. And I know good and goddamn well, I experience a privilege, and I know that it's there. So, you know, that's how I feel about it.
So yeah, interesting hearing you say that, because, you know, in West Africa, most of y'all may know that there's a big problem with skin lightening. We're seeing it across the continents. You know, now they're having to fight it, make it illegal, but it's becoming so much that people are saying, well, I'm not going to get any type of opportunity unless I'm a little bit lighter.
Right.
Wow.
And to think that you have to go to that point to feel that you'll get an opportunity.
Survival, though. They see it, and they're trying to survive.
Exactly.
You know?
So I said, what?
The experience of like being the only dark-skinned person in my school like was just horrible. And being Senegalese, although like in Africa, it's like you're not experiencing the racism you do here because everyone's black. I did notice there was an issue with skin lightening. Like I knew my aunts who had products, my cousins, like it's very rampant there.
Were you ever close? I'm just curious if you've ever been close to skin lightening, bleaching.
Yeah.
You almost did?
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're gorgeous. You better than ever.
Y'all can tell her whatever you want to tell her. People that are going through skin lightening are experiencing some deep self-hatred. So I appreciate the love, but a lot of that deep hatred is because of the life they see other people living.
Yeah. At all, you gotta figure it out. What a twisted thing. Like, the sun was made for you. Like, the greatest source of life was made for you. And because of media, we allow ourselves, well, that's a trip to me. Go ahead.
Have I ever benefited from colorism? Of course not. It's designed for me not to benefit from
Yeah.
it. I also found it interesting that the two dark-skinned black men stepped forward for benefiting and we stayed behind, because research actually does reflect that, at least socially, dark-skinned women do face deeper implications of colorism. So when I saw them step forward and not us, I was like, okay, that's familiar to me.
The only reason that us as black men step forward, especially me being from America, is because, yeah, we get more opportunities in the film and the music and all that, but then what are they putting? They're putting a gun in our hand, or they're putting us in a dress, or they're not, show me a positive example that you have of a brother that looks like me on the screen. All I'm saying is that opportunity that we have, it's an illusion of opportunity. So when you say that the statistics said that black women actually suffer more from colorism, I don't believe that that's true.
That's not what I said. Actually, what I said, the social implications are deeper. I did not say that dark skin, you don't have to believe it. There are research.
It's not, because you can find positive. Lastly, you can find positive images of black women on television.
Oh, of course.
You cannot of black men.
I understand there's an illusion of opportunity, because even how you said, like when you walk into the hood, you're safe. That's based on the perception of you being aggressive as a dark-skinned man. That can quickly flip. For instance, within the justice system, we're typically penalized more harshly than light-skinned people.
Yeah, sure. But I want you to get on what he was just talking about. How the stat that you brought up about the social implications being different in regards to women. Now, I understand darker skinned women might face this reality in regards to relationships and dating. I wanted you to further dive into what he just addressed, the stat that you just brought up.
Just on average. So I would never deny the experiences of colorism for dark-skinned men. The implications are just deeper. Socially, and beauty standards especially, typically do affect women more harshly. So I just wanted to be very, very clear about that.
But that's what I was saying, the beauty standards tying into relationships.
Last thing is, there's a lot of I feel. I didn't feel this in my experience, so this system doesn't exist. This oppression doesn't exist, and I want to be careful of that, because like I said, when personal lived experience is not enough, we got to go to data. And some facts data support, and some facts data does not.
The entertainment industry prefers light-skinned black people.
Yeah.
Statistically, like,
proof's in the pudding. Look at Big Shorty staying back.
Dark-skinned black men fill more acting roles, but again, we talked about that earlier. That's usually where thugs or pimps or gangsters or whatever, and especially women. I think this is definitely one of the areas that women suffer from the most, and that goes back to the first black woman to win an Oscar. And the thing that bothers me the most is not only does that happen, but then we had it was like a run where we had Django, 12 Years a Slave, The Help, The Butler.
That was a rough time period.
But the problem is that's what they want to continue to see us as, is the mammies and the black people that are scared of the ghost or all of this stuff. So that's not going to change.
But also, like, just a positive light of a black family is always light skinned. Like, you had Fresh Prince, they changed out on Viv. You have Martin, it's a bunch of light skins. You know what I'm saying? Like
blackish.
Yeah, blackish. It's always light skin. Even Fresh Prince, except for the dad, it's all the new Fresh Prince it's all light skin. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah. And I feel like lighter skinned people in the industry are allowed to be so mediocre and bland because people think, oh yeah, this is what looks good. So I feel like light skinned people are allowed to just kind of be like flat and dull and still get these big opportunities and be in these spaces where they're able to get so much, and it's kind of like,
You guys are all speaking complete facts, nothing to disagree with there. There have been been light-skinned actresses, Thandie Newton, Zendaya, Amanda Steinberg,
Halle Berry.
who have opened up and said, yes, we do benefit from colorism. Zendaya, I believe, even says she turns down roles where she feels like she's being used to kind of tokenized or to replace a role that should, or you can say should have went to a dark-skinned woman. So I just want to highlight that there are things that can be done, and a simple acknowledgement of privilege goes a long way.
And can we not pass by off of this without Zoe Saldana playing Nina Simone? Oh my goodness, we can't get past that. We can't go without.
What I definitely notice is when we look at the media side of it, lately dark-skinned people will play more of these roles of thugs and anything that can scare you from us. And then when it comes to the light-skinned men, you guys do see that they're making it a little bit more sensitive. There's this like, oh wow, Dreamy, he's so sensitive. That one, she's dirty and whatever. Really, a lot.
The Jezebel.
I think it's also a point when you look into Black media and what we as a culture consume. I think when I think of like Tyler Perry and like what he's done with Medea, and I just hate it, or just like the Zeus Network, and it
That is real. Tyler Perry has created a lot of opportunities for Black people, but then at the same time, he's created a lot of stereotypes for Black people.
But I know they won't. You know what I'm saying? I know they won't, but it's like that representation is like.
I'm tired of us and still uplift all Black queens, whatever. But I'm done with us only uplifting the hairstylists that we know. And that's what every Black girl wants to do now, is be a singer or a hairstylist. We need to. What about the Black scientists and the Black, lawyers or doctors? Like that's where.
I disagree is because it depends on the role. So like if we have a movie like Boys in the Hood, or if we have a movie like Don't Be a Menace, it is going to be dark-skinned Black people, unfortunately.
Can I ask the ladies one question? Do you guys consume media such as?
I was skipping forwards to try to get her input, and I was hoping that she had something solid to say. There's no way that she just sat there and all she did was reaffirm that entire thing that they've all been talking about. And if there was a preference towards getting an actor of color, it would be someone who was lighter skinned. Whether they're Black or not, it would be someone who's lighter skinned to fill that role. So yes, if the only time you ever see Black people, dark skinned Black people in the entertainment world, and particularly movies, is when there are thugs, then that does not represent the majority of people and opportunities that are available to them.
It's like the Bad Girls Club and listen to Sexy Red and stuff like that. Like, do you guys listen to that kind of stuff and watch that kind of stuff?
Honestly, I watch baddies. And it's entertaining to me.
I have here and there.
Yeah. If it comes on, hey, okay.
Stop it. You can name some of the characters.
I don't listen to it
Do you
on my
believe
own.
that these things reinforce negative stereotypes of the Black woman?
Absolutely.
I have an answer for that.
You go.
While I acknowledge that representation matters, I also don't really jive well with respectability politics, and I feel like in these conversations, that's where we veer towards. I would like to see more balance in the industry at large, specifically the music industry. Because let's be clear, if every woman in the rap game was Lauryn Hill, I still wouldn't like it, because every Black woman is not Lauryn Hill. This hypersexual image is just da-da-da.
Those are the ones that are getting selected.
Those are the ones who are being placed in the mainstream. I understand why that's problematic. I feel like a reason that Black women gravitate towards this type of content, of course it can be entertainment, whatever, but I think there's a freedom that Black women feel sometimes. Black women are very heavily policed in society, right? But telling Black people, behave because you're making them think they already thought that.
Exactly.
They already thought that. I don't like giving white supremacists a pass, and I feel like that's what we love to do with respectability politics. Right. Oh, that's the way they view it. It view us that way. No, it's not. They did not go to Africa all them centuries ago and enslave us because some people sag their pants and twerk.
I'm not talking about how they look at us. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about our community. I'm talking about what these, I'm saying look out. I don't know what your guys' algorithms are looking like on your social media, but look out and see what these little girls, I remember there's this one video of this girl I saw, she's a ballet teacher, and she was like crying because she was like, your girls want to listen to Sexy Red and all this stuff. No, but that's what's happening. And I don't believe that having a balance of the Sexy Reds and the Lauryn Hills is going to be a net positive for our community.
I think you can talk about like respectability and palatability and all these things and get into the politics of, whether we should have to deal with that because other races don't have to deal with that. I don't think that's conducive or helpful, because I think Black people and Black culture are in a unique position where we do kind of need to look out for ourselves a bit more. Black kids grow up saying, oh, I want to be an NBA star, all of these things, where it's just like, maybe like not even 1% make it. Yeah. Whereas you go to other communities, kids are like, I want to be an engineer, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer. And like, we do need more of that. And I think it's okay to acknowledge that our culture does have a lot of work to do.
Oh yeah,
being like,
absolutely.
Oh well, white people don't have to deal with this. I think it's just white supremacy to like.
Or to even put them in the conversation. Period.
Yeah, it's not about them.
Being pro-Black is not being anti-white. We need to stop even talking about them. We need to start talking about what is good for us, because we are under attack. We can all at least agree that we are under attack. There is a system, but we can beat it. Yeah. A lot of beating it comes with boycotting, coming together though, and saying we're going to worry about our own.
I, at this point, really don't look to pop culture for representation as a Black woman. We're going to start there. My representation is not in the rap. It's not in the rap game. It's Audre Lorde. It's bell hooks. That's my representation as a Black feminist, an intersectional feminist, a Black woman.
People take me more seriously when I alter my hair.
one time I was on a Zoom call with my manager and I had a curly wig on. And she's like, no response. The next day, I have a straight one. She's like, oh my God, what did you do? You look so cute. What the heck? Oh my, and I'm like, all I did was change my hair. Previous jobs, I never wear my hair. Every single day. Is that your hair? Is that your hair? Is that your hair? Is that your hair? My last day. She's like, oh, I thought you were gonna wear your hair. It's your last day. It's just crazy why does it matter? And then I've heard it before too, like even black women going out shopping, if they have a fro, they're treated differently compared to when their hair is straight. We got some mental work to do.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say is everything, all of that matters, all of your skin tone, your hair. But you go back to like the 60s, 70s when the Black Panthers were coming and all the women were wearing it natural. I do that. I wear these. I like to wear these for like more if I don't have to do my hair every day. I don't want to worry about whatever. But when I pull this thing out, and I'll make sure I look at everybody like a little serious because I'm like, yeah, the power that comes with it. And we need to just start reinforcing, especially with our next generations, how beautiful our natural is.
I'm a political science major, so I'm not part of the School of Business. But all my friends in the School of Business, every time summer comes around, they're about to get an internship, they get the big chop because they know as soon as they get in their jobs, if they do not have short hair, they're not going to be taken seriously. They might not even be let in the door. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, colorism has a little raggedy cousin. Her name is texturism. That's what we're discussing now.
I hadn't even heard of that one.
Yeah, it's texturism. That's why black people still have to fight to wear natural styles in corporate spaces. I don't know if you guys heard about the story of a young, beautiful black boy with locks who hasn't been to school in like over 180 days because they're trying to force him to cut his locks to return to school. I didn't walk forward because, I've pretty much always been some variation of natural. Now, we'll tell you, it was a bit of a shock to realize that texturism is still a thing in the lock community, right? Because I thought, okay, we're all working with our natural styles. That's the point of locks. We don't have to deal with this. But I don't really get treated differently because I have one hairstyle. But it's oh, you don't want to slick down your edges or you need a retwist. No, I didn't get one for this.
Right.
You understand? My hair.
Beautiful.
Thank you. So does yours. My hair shouldn't have to be neat and perfectly twisted for me to be palatable or accepted. But that is even with newborns, the damn placenta perm, the baby coming out, the mama. I've seen Facebook posts. My baby's hair. Look at this good hair on my baby from a newborn.
That term
Can't even hold the neck up yet.
And that's something that you're already having to deal with that type of situation.
That's facts.
There were times where I'm like, oh, well, if I'm going to this meeting or if I'm trying to get this job, I'm not going to be able to wear this. Those are things that you have to think about in terms of this standard that is set and presenting yourself to the world.
Working at Six Flags at one point, dreads were not allowed, or like locks were not allowed. You would have to bring.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, locks were not allowed, and you had to bring in a note from your spiritual advisor.
That's crazy.
As to why you have them.
We all flinched a little bit like.
Spiritual advisor. What the hell?
No, that goes back to the topic at hand. This is a theme park. How serious do they need to be taken?
Right.
And here I am, a black woman, having to tell people like, oh, you have to cut your hair. Your locks that you just grew for years, you have to cut them off or not get a job. Like, that is crazy to me.
A lot of the dudes I know, and myself, I like natural, just period. And I think women in general get berated by media and culture by beauty standards. I think black women, y'all get slammed even harder in terms of that. So I believe that us as black men in the community need to encourage, like, what you have naturally is beautiful. And I think the more that we do that from a young age, now they're gonna have that standard in the home, which is really where the strength of blackness came from. You have your choice. If you wanna wear your hair however you want, if you wanna get a weave, if you want, cool. But don't do it because there's a level of insecurity or lack of pride in who you are and how you represent
That's
yourself.
easier said than done, but I feel
No, it is, but here's my thing though. I think this is the thing. There's a lot of things in our community that's easier said than done, and the problem is this: we got to get to the ugly work of grabbing the shovel and digging in the dirt. And we may not finish the work. Our kids and our great grandkids might be the ones that are building the platforms and the levels of us climbing the rings of society.
You're a good politician.
We got to get that work done.
No, hold on. You're a good politician, but look at the statistics of what's happening. Is all I'm saying. I get everything that you're saying.
You're talking to a poli-sci person that understands statistics. What I'm saying is this: statistics, if we don't do anything about it, will not change.
But that's what I was about to say, because you're saying our kids and our grandchildren are doing this. That's where.
They could do it.
No, I'm saying they can't. Okay. We got to do the work. We got to get out there and start the work.
I hope my kids are the same skin tone as me.
Come on, black man. Shit.
Tone my kids would end up, but I've always had this, imagination in my mind of seeing a little me. Yeah, because for what I went through and being such a lonely kid, and when I go back to Ghana, I sometimes go by the orphanages where the children are, and I see the kids just as dark as me. And then for me, I remember, wow, you guys have no idea what's going on in America, but you guys are enjoying your skin and your pride. The most interesting thing about this is when I was here in America in Dayton, the black girls would literally tell me they didn't want their kids as dark as me.
They didn't want them.
So I had a hard time dating because I would hear that, you know, from the sneaker. Oh, I don't want my kids that black. No. And so, you know, it came to a point in my life where I just thought, I don't think I'm gonna see a mini me ever. And I take it as humor, but at the same time, at this point, you know,
you laugh at that pain.
Yeah, you laugh at it and say, wow, it'd be kind of cool to have that little one as dark as me and just be like, yo, this is what it's gonna be like, but you're not gonna scar, you're not gonna get bruised, you're not and enjoy it.
Now that I am so secure with who I am and and I know the science of how beautiful we are.
I really thought it was gonna be females represent different versions of dark and light skin. They should have this a male version. What? Did they not? Dark skin is seen as a masculine trait that's inherently beneficial to black men. Black women, due to Eurocentric beauty standards, can be labeled as what does a Eurocentric beauty standard have to do with your personality traits? Even when they're upset, passionate, and headstrong, even positive labels like strong or independent can be to their detriment. Look at how black women are less likely to be helped in public emergency or believed to be in pain by a doctor. I can agree that there's different experience, but being viewed a certain way because you're dark skinned in the beauty realm has nothing to do with your personality. I don't agree with that. Uh-oh. Orange Shirt said he's no longer colorist and continued to overcompensate that by giving corny compliments. But when one of the dark-skinned women attempted to express how she and the most dark-skinned black women don't benefit from colorism, he immediately went in to defend black men's perceived privilege and talk over her. He's absolutely still colorist. Don't think that kind of colorist, but yeah, I picked up on that too. It's definitely weird, low-key sexist for mocking her, saying black women don't suffer from much more from colorism, when he's giving statistics, not opinions. But that's why I said I would wanted her to expound upon. Because you can pull plenty of statistics on plenty of things, but I think it's more important that you're able to identify what these statistics pertain to and how the specific groups were kind of garnered. I agree, he's probably doing a lot. Yeah, that was crazy work. Black beautiful stuff in the same breath. Exclusively only date non-black. She's performative. Guy in orange is done to me on to be associated with dark skin. Guy in orange guys act on the Hollywood stereotype of white guy amongst black people hot. We allowed to take she thought very well. Conversation was great. Orange shirt. Y'all hate this guy because everyone else like he has too much shit was more important than everybody else. I agree. Like when the dude was talking about how we have an opportunity for people in the future, and if it doesn't start with us, it'll start with at least kids and grandkids, etc., etc. He wanted to jump in. He wasn't even listening to what he was talking about. And he said she wants straight hair, and like I'm like, where's she getting that from? Why straight hair wigs? Yeah, that's what I said. I don't understand why people think Jubilee's pushing boundaries. They're discussing valid topics that don't get discussed often. But yes, it may raise your eyebrow, but I'm glad I'm more open with it because there's many chances to censor stuff. Orange shirt guy is so weird. That's something made for you, Hannah. African guy painting like a color colorism doesn't exist in Africa. Honestly, stop it. It's very prevalent. Yeah, it does exist. I mean, because he talks to people who do the skin lightening. Charlie been feeling comfortable with his skin comments. He frequently makes his dark skinned ladies be like overcompensating. Okay, I don't know. I feel like he's just trying to be uplifting because I guess he has a past. Let's hear it.
I'm like, oh man, I just pray that when we have our few kids, that at least one of them or two of them, or hopefully all of them, look like me, because I know so much about my history and the science of black and beauty that I just want to instill that in them, because I feel like that's what the world needs more of, is people like you who are you're gorgeous, man. Like, we're gorgeous. The sun, I'm sorry to keep saying that, but the sun was made for us. That's the most beautiful gift that God could have given us, is that we don't burn in the sun. And they're psychologically trying to like make that such an ugly thing.
You still do burn in the sun. It's just not quite as rapid.
Kids are the ones that suffer from it the most, and I hope that you have kids as black as you, and I hope I have kids as black as you. Any black person I've ever seen that.
Whilst growing up and living a life that led to you dismissing your sister's existence, sure.
Looks like you, perfect, pure skin.
I wouldn't say that, like, I hope, like, obviously if they're the same skin tone as me, like that's fine. Like I'd love you if you were any skin tone. But I think I'd kind of just take the chance, like if they turned out as me, to take the chance to like raise them the way I would have wanted to be loved more, and kind of just show them that no matter like what goes on outside, just know that.
I agree though. I think like this, hoping that your kids come out like the skin tone is kind of cringe in itself. I hope my kids come out beautiful, happy, and healthy.
None of that matters. It's your character that matters, and kind of just bring them up with that like confidence that I didn't get.
I just don't plan on having children. That's what I mean, I don't know, it kind of feels icky for me to say I would prefer a child be a certain color. A child is not a resource, it's a human being. So if you fall in love with somebody or you don't.
I just don't care. Like if you're darker than me, lighter than me, that's cool. You're still my daughter, son, or they, them, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm still gonna love you no matter what. So
yeah,
doesn't matter.
That's my mentality too. You're my seed. And at that point, I think that obviously boils down into whatever the mom is going to bring into the picture. And I think that at the end of the day, a child hopefully would be an expression of love. I'm going to raise you to know that you're supposed to be confident in who your identity is as a human being, a black man, and someone supposed to contribute to the world.
If your seed comes out like this color, they come to you like, Dad, all of this stuff is being said to me, the cops are treating me this way. Are you
navigate them?
Do you get what I'm saying? Are you afraid that you won't have the wherewithal to teach them how to go through that?
No, being black is not, even though there are aspects of it, skin tone, things like that,
right? That's what
it is an experience that we all in some way have had experiences we can relate to it. I know what it's like to be pulled over by the police and almost put in cuffs over doing absolutely nothing, right? And so
almost putting cuffs or putting cuffs?
No, I said almost being
cuffs.
Putting cuffs for doing nothing.
And I got you on that. But we don't all have, as black people across the board, we don't all have the same experiences. But if my son came to me or my daughter came to me at some point in life and they're like, I'm going through this, I know what it feels like just from a black man's perspective, but also because that's someone I love and I care about. That's something I'm also going to be even more so able to share in, because that's also my seed.
I don't care about what complexion my kids are. And the thing is that me saying I don't care is not like I'm tossing things out the way, because we're going to have them conversations.
Absolutely.
Y'all going to sit down and we're going to talk, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And if there is a point that I can't, where I just can't, because it's just something, things I don't experience, things I don't understand, I know like we have a village. It's always a village around, so if it's not the baby pappy, if it ain't his pappy, it can be close people that are trusted that know. So I feel like there's always going to be somebody around that is going to be able to aid in conversations I might not be able to have, or even somebody else that just might not be able to have. But I'm going to love my cheerings. I don't care.
I like what you said, it takes a village. Like, and not saying that I would like outsource my parenting. So, but like I have darker skinned cousins on my mom's side, you feel me? And my uncles are darker skinned, you feel me? So like whether it's like asking them to.
So these two people mixed race, because that is the discussion I think we need to be having. But whatever.
Talk to my children, or just asking them to educate me on the stuff I don't know because I'm not a dark skinned person.
Right. Colorism is one of the determining factors for power structure of the world.
What?
It just do. All I can say is I just know it do. Like I can't even explain it. It just do. Like it's not. It just do. I just know it's one of them things where it's so many like isms and phobics. Yeah, it's thrown into a pot, and I know it's in there. I can't explain it, but I know.
Now speaking from the heart.
That's how I feel.
When I think of this topic, I immediately go to like caste systems. So like when I think of like India, for example, it's terrible. Like if you're darker, then you're on the bottom of the totem pole and so on. So I think in terms of like opportunity and social mobility for people, I'd say it's a bigger issue outside of the U.S. in like developed countries. I'd say
it's a bigger issue outside of the United States.
In some nations, because I'm not gonna lie. Like when she said the prompt, it's like I wasn't just thinking us here. I'm thinking the world. I'm thinking everywhere. Yeah, you know, I'm thinking globally, because it's like I definitely have seen that.
Socioeconomic.
I believe it's every place, but I think it.
Now you're gonna start. You gotta finish now, bro.
The reason why I was kind of like, it was hard for me to come up here at first was because I view like a lot of the isms as like how they maintain the current hierarchical system, you feel me, or caste system, you feel me? So like, yeah, I guess determining factor, but I don't think it's like the main, the main factor. I think
it's definitely
I think it's what contributes to the main factor.
Yes.
What's going on is deep.
What's
going on is multi-layered for sure.
Yes.
For you to talk about colorism, you would have to talk about racism, and you would have to talk about.
No,
it's true, because that the selling of slaves to be profitable to even then create a system of race in which you then were subjugated, and it's not only associated where you come from, it's associated with your skin. Because what we forget is when it comes to colorism, all over the world, if you worked out in the fields, I mean, I'm talking about people that they had red skin, right? If you worked out in the fields, that was a sign that you were, by someone just looking at you, that you were not part of the nobility. These people would walk around with umbrellas and things like that. So in America, it was pretty much the only place where we're gonna say, wait a minute, not only is this something that signifies your place in society, but we're gonna associate it with you at birth, and we're gonna create a whole system of that. And that's why, to me, I think, they're not the only, but, you know, I think.
Brother, relax.
Racism, as far as I'm concerned, is probably the biggest.
Brother, relax.
Topic. They're not the only, but, you know, I think racism, as far as I'm concerned, is probably the biggest topic that affects us. Because think about this, before all this stuff happened, none of us were conscious about, oh, well, you're lighter, you're better, all this other stuff. And now these
she's making a face.
things that we were not thinking about affect us internally at home, even while we're still trying to fight it out there.
That's why I didn't automatically come up, because I just went past it. I went
racism.
Yeah, I just went straight there. Because when it comes down to like,
yeah, because the colorism is typically a derivative of the racism.
who runs the U.S. and all this stuff, I don't feel like we're ever going to get there. The closest we got was having a black president, and even that was like,
he was not really a black president.
And that's what I'm saying. So even that was like that.
You guys might hate me for this, but I actually don't think racism is the determining factor. I think it is the main determining factor that upholds the system of capitalism.
So deep.
I don't think once we figure out racism or something, everything's gonna go away. I think racism just maintains the class system. Like, that's all.
Yeah, oppression works on the axis. Of course, I would agree with this. That's kind of what we've been delving into this whole time, and I think the prompt definitely said one of. Correct. Colorism does determine certain power dynamics. I'm so glad you brought up the term caste system. You talked about in other nations where, like I said, there are entire socioeconomic statuses developed out of colorism. Even within the U.S. historically, most of the affluent black families, Reconstruction era and post-then, were lighter skinned. A lot of them kept their bloodlines lighter skinned on purpose because of the influence that came with that. These things are generational. Those affluent black families who had the resources to give their kids.
It's like they talk about the one drop rule. Knowing that if I can associate my bloodline with this color and keep this color as clean as possible, then that would enable an opportunity for me to continue to drive us forwards. Even if you talk about in northern Africa and the United Arab Emirates and those areas, it's very easy to notice the deviation amongst particular tribes, people, and backgrounds because of where the bloodline starts to spread out. Similarly, if you look at, like I said, early America, keeping your bloodline pure was a real thing because, like I said, if you have a white family and then they start to venture out a little bit, that's when you start to get variations in your bloodline, which will then muddy your bloodline and take away possible opportunities for maintaining a power structure, because now that you have to be regarded and looked at differently because of where you came from and how you look.
It's more than others. They passed it down, they passed it down, they passed it down. What can you pass down when you have nothing?
Nothing. Well, I like when MLK said it the best. He said, they keep telling us to pull up ourselves up our bootstraps and we have no boots. I love that.
Yeah. That's kind of what I've been trying to say. Yeah.
Right.
There were documents that were re-earthed from the 20th century where black people who were applying for jobs post-slavery, they included being fair-skinned on the application above their actual skills because it would guarantee them better employment. So I think it's definitely one of the things that determines the distribution of power.
I wanted to say this to the light-skinned people too, because, and I'm glad, in my mind, when we was about to do this, I had a whole different.
Is his name Charles X, like Malcolm X?
That's gonna be a debate.
I had a whole different thought of the light-skinned people that can be here. You guys are so earthed, you're so grounded, and that's why it's like, don't forget the history of what's going on to your darker brothers and sisters. I know you won't, but it's time for us to gather together and for us to fight it together, because yeah, we can talk about what happened, and you see these people on the social medias and stuff talking all the time, black people are complaining about blah, 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 blah. It's time for us to have a new Tulsa and say, now we made it, and because now the cameras are on everywhere.
Yep.
They bomb us now, we can go, now look.
Right.
We ain't talking about before, today now, and not just this black person over here or this one over here, but all of us came together.
They called him a hotep in the comments. Chill out.
We did this, and you guys did it again. Now what? And then we know we're at war.
And I think to what you're saying, there's a distrust in our own community of one another when it comes to buying and supporting what we own. And I think if we want to have industry in anything, if we want something to grow, we need to build something just like we did back in the 20s and like we did in the 50s, where the black community was the center of commerce. We had the most educated, we had the most sophisticated, and of course they were bombed. There were 7 other black Wall Streets in this country that doesn't get talked about because Tulsa was the biggest one. If you want to see something change, we got to start supporting the people that are, they're working on the clothing brands, they're working on the businesses, they want to start the banks, they want to come together. That's how we're going to build a community, and then we can pass something on that they can keep building upon for the future. Because until we do that, all we're doing is preaching to the choir and complaining.
But that starts with the family. That starts at the family.
I agree with you,
100%.
It was very nice to hear your guys' opinions and experiences, and it was also great to share our experiences as well, just so we can all see through the eyes of each other and just move forward. Like, that's all.
I think him saying this was a I don't know. I feel like he'd be on social media a lot. Very sure it was odd. Nah, I think he just went through a lot in life. White Latino versus brown Latino. That'd be interesting to see, to hear. Light-skinned black women versus dark-skinned black women. I think that would be a great combo to hear out. Oh, maybe I missed it then. Well, I agree. But isn't Ice Spice Hispanic? That's why I was talking about there are very different levels. Because like I was saying, there's people there, and I was like, are you just the derivative of two parents, wherever they came from, that would be deemed as black? Or are you a child of a mixed couple, whether one parent was white, one parent was Latino, etc., and then another parent is black? That's a different experience and a different background to come from two parents being black. And that leads to a different experience and in life as a whole, honestly. That's why I was saying I think that's a different thing. Right. That's where I was coming from. Yeah, good vid.